Cowboys training camp, live from Oxnard, California. Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds, Texas Cheer Liquor, and 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator for your Dallas Cowboys. We've been promising you for the last 30 minutes. Sitting down with us. Morning, Coach. We're glad you're here with us.
Yeah, good morning, man. I'm pumped to be on with you guys. And so, excuse my voice a little bit. Extra teaching, extra classroom. So I apologize for that.
How's training camp going?
You know what? It's been a blast. I was so excited. And just prior to getting on the plane, I saw one of the players, and he just grabbed me a smile and a hug. And he's like, man, we get to. And I was like,
I like that.
It wasn't like I have to go to training camp.
Yes.
It was like, Q, we get to. And It was like a smile and a hug because they were so excited to kind of show the work that they put in. So
I love that mindset.
Get to versus have to. And I thought that made me smile when I saw him. And I know this man.
Now, Coach, think back to the beginnings of your career. Was that the same attitude then most of the time, or is it different now?
I think it's that's a good question. It's different. Well, training camp's different, of course, too. But not everybody had that mindset. Right. I see so many of these players have the get to right now, but it was definitely different. There is a real advantage to coming away. I know it's, for you guys, traveling all the way out here, but there's a connection that takes place. There's some things just being away together as a group. You may not be able to quantify it and put a number on it, the importance that, we can't measure that. But I would say this connection that they have, they're in between meetings or at night or being together, it integrates your team as good as you can. And so when it gets to, late January where they're, in a playoff game and loud as hell and, there's about 2 minutes left and, it's 13-13 when you're connected in that way, not just like, this guy is a teammate, but like you got love for this guy because like you've put it in together, you spent the time.
I've seen you in your chonies in the middle of the night.
Some of that happens here.
We're at training camp.
Yes.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Ross.
Well, Coach, you've got the lay of the land now. I mean, you've been around this camp three times, and you're really ensconced here. What is the difference with being in with this team? And you're organized. You knew what you had coming in. You added a couple of pieces, but this is essentially the team that you've been putting together for the last couple of years. What's the attack method now?
I think it's you feel where you're not back to the bottom of the hill. We're now kind of like at like a base camp, and you go back to that space because so many players have had some experience. We know each other well, and we've got a lot to prove. And so we're not starting at ground one. And so it's definitely harder for the new player this year than the new player 3 years ago. So the Micah and Osa and Chauncey and Bo's in class and Kelvin, that class, they weren't so far behind the veterans because they had only had the off season to put the information in. And I remember Law, yelling at these other guys, come on, man. They know this, fill in the blank better than we do,
right.
And so
what do you do for Mozzie? What do you do for the young guys? When you've got that a class that's, a couple of grades ahead and you're trying to get a guy caught up. What do you do for that?
It's a great one because there has to be some extra time, and you find the little windows to coach the rookie on the specific things that they'll need to do. And so they may not get everything right away, but this is really important for you to play it at this spot. Then we can keep stacking and adding on to it.
Cores and concepts and precise later.
Yes. And so once we get the concepts in, then we can, work around and feature guys in a different space. But for the rookie, it's also an important time for us to find out what they can do. Not everybody does everything really well, but if we can find the things you're really good at and put you into those roles when you get into the game, that's when it can really take off because they have those specific roles when they get in the game. Like I can do this better than anybody. And, in a way it's in the NBA, a guy who can, shoot behind the arc and he can catch and shoot, and so you can deliver somebody who can catch and shoot. I think of like a Ray Allen who's like catch and shoot. And how did you drill him? I remember him talking about like in his practice doing like a push-up before a catch and shoot because he had to push off somebody.
Yeah, he had to back pedal. I've seen him. I've seen that
clip. Can you imagine that kind of detail that you go into or the way that Steph Curry moves to catch and shoot?
I want to say something.
Like that drill work is it's awesome.
This is Coach Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator with the Cowboys, sitting next to us in blue 11s. giving us basketball references. Respect. You're a baller. You appreciate the game.
I definitely do.
All right.
So just following through the
do you
NBA
play
playoffs? I'm more catch and shoot, right?
That's what I've become
in my life, But I do really respect it, and
that's awesome.
I think the NBA has done a good job of, developing players, and I'm certainly interested into that to see how they take somebody, and sometimes they may only had 1 year of college or none, and work them up, and how do they go and utilize those players to keep improving? Because to me, development sometimes gets a bad word, where it's not just the younger player. Like, we're developing all the guys.
Absolutely.
Micah's developing. He's getting better. Jaron Curse is developed. Like, there's always things that they work on to get better at. And so you don't want to think, if you think, hey, I made it, I don't have to work anymore, like, say goodbye.
That's it. Now, let me ask you this, because I don't think media or fans understand how hyper competitive the players are. When I was out at practice yesterday, your side of the ball, there's some barkers. Like, how do y'all toe the line of competitive versus where it gets like, okay, that may be a little bit too far, that may be a little bit too harsh? Like, how do you toe that line? But because you want that competitiveness,
yes,
but you also don't want it to go too far.
Yes, and I think it's a challenge, because we want them to push that all the way to the line, like toes on the line,
right,
but not cross it. And so that is learning, I would say, where to compete. Don't compete in the wrong spots. Too much after the play to get you out of whack for the next one. So learning where your spots are, how to do that, I think that's important, because if somebody loses a focus for just a moment, whether it's on the receiving end of something or saying something you didn't get the call, then that crossed that line. But at the end of it, they are connected and they are tight. So they just want to bring it and go. And it's kind of in their DNA, what they're made of. And it's why these guys are unique. If everybody could do it, they'd do it. So they got a little extra something in them that allowed them to get to this level of a competitor, because quite honestly, you wouldn't be here in this environment, in this arena, if you didn't have that extra.
You already had Diggs. Your initial reaction when you found out y'all acquired Gilmore?
Yeah, pool party. The pool party time. It was a nice addition, and I had heard a lot about the man as well as the ball player. A number of people texted me, Dan, is this a great guy? I remember, Matt Ryan, who played with him in Indy, or just, like players that texted me, other coaches that texted me to say, hey, man, you got one here. And I've seen that when he has something to share with a teammate, whether it's on offense or defense, he's so willing to do that. And so when you add the ball player and the man of that caliber, it expounds into other, parts of your defense.
I'm always curious about the witchcraft of forming a team and getting the guys to fill a role and play that kind of thing. And when you look at your team that was already a team, I mean, you add a guy of that weight and gravitas, what's it like implementing a guy like Gilmore onto a team that's already been pretty damn successful?
Well, I'll tell you a story that happened probably about 3 weeks ago. I was out walking with my wife, and I must have been about 10 minutes had gone by, and she says, where are they? And I said, where's who? And she said, where are the players in your head? You haven't said anything for like 10 minutes. I'm just sitting there watching you. And we were just walking. I said, oh, my bad. So I said, well, we're doing good.
We call that an RPP. Yeah, that's a rich people problem right there.
I was like, all right, what would that look like if he was over to this side, and how would that go? And so I do enjoy that, because part of me in this camp is learning some of the new players and what they could do. That's, some of the rookies that we have. We have 9, rookies that are here, including Steph, who's new, but there's a good nucleus. But adding these new guys, that's been a real priority for me coming into camp. What are some of your goals coming in to say, can I really integrate the new guys? Can I really, understand what makes them that, who needs work in what area? And that's why sometimes in practice, we're now just calling plays to see some guys, like I want to see a lot of man-to-man against the tight end. That's a nice part of training camp. Like, I can do that.
Yeah.
And get a
how much control do you have on that when inside the parameters of, cut sheets and plays and timing and all of that? How much control do you have on?
Quite a bit. And so, because you do want to find out what, certain guys have. There's a overall knowledge to have.
Is it built in, that flexibility for you?
Yes. And certainly there's other moments that you want to see, some of the big guys I want to see in the run stuff. Some of the pass guys I want to see playing man-to-man, because we like playing aggressive and playing onto people and playing tight into our coverage. So let's see what that looks like. So all of us have, we call them work-ons, some things that we're, working on to get better at, coaches and players. But for me, some of my work-ons are I want to find out what unique stuff a guy has and say, let's see more of that, or let's see less and try somebody else into that spot. So it's ongoing over the next month that I'll find out more and more. Some in practice, some in the preseason games. That's how we do it.
One of my work-ons is getting you on time. So I want to appreciate you stopping by. Coach Dan Quinn sitting in with us here, R&R in the morning here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. We appreciate your time this morning. Good health, great season. We look forward to talking to you again.
We appreciate the support and look forward to seeing everybody when we get back up.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
That is head coach Dan Quinn of your Dallas Cowboys.